It's interesting that people believe that proprietary data is so valuable, and I agree with them to a certain extent. However, one of the things that I had to do before I launched Data Capital Management was I helped co-found the big data business for JP Morgan. And so I got to deal with the regulators a lot. And what's very clear is that privacy is the same as private information, permissible data use rights. So this idea that proprietary information at one point will become defined as private information, and you cannot trade on private information, you go to jail. And so this same concept will eventually, when the regulators come, be applied over to the capital markets specifically. And therefore, if you've set up your investment process to be entirely about making systematic decisions or big data, artificial intelligence decisions on all this proprietary data, well, what happens when the regulators come and cut the knees out from under you? All right, so that's number one. Then number two, as I was talking about at this conference, which has been great, we think through this idea of, people like to talk about tragedy of the commons. The more people are using any given information asset or grass in the traditional set, the less and the more value destruction is being done to society. I think about it the other way. That's true in a very scalable and mature ecosystem. However, when you're in a new one, the actual destructive action to society as a whole is this idea of keeping everything to your chest, right? Seeing some caveman who has created the wheel, but then saying, no, I'm gonna go figure it out on my own rather than taking it. If we had always taken those approaches, think back to the American Industrial Revolution. The reason America was able to get to where it was because they decided to take railroad tracks and standardize the width and the height. And from that, trains were able to go all the way from California to New York to Boston, and it connected a great economy. So now if you say, no, I need to get to New York to Boston, or from New York to Boston. However, at Rhode Island, the train switches from 6 feet apart to 4 feet apart. Now everybody is going to be having to get off and go through, and you're never going to actually have people scaling and building that out. So in the same way that that occurred in the Industrial Revolution, same way that the highways gave birth to McDonald's, in this manner, it is the connection of all of this that creates a broader addressable market, enables people to amortize their fixed costs, and then on the top, it becomes no different. Really, what artificial intelligence will become is that it's no different than how humans go about making a decision. It's just that they won't be limited by their mental capacity to remember only, where they say up to 7 things is where we perform adequately. And it will be continuously broadening. And in order for that to occur, you cannot have these silos of information the way that many people are trying to compete. However, I do understand that during the time that you're seeking to recoup your investment, there is some level of traditional corporate strategy which says that you should in-house and take control of all of the resources that come through. However, similarly to how it doesn't make sense that Toyota right now is not a fully vertically integrated machine, once you get to a level that, okay, some of these things are around, there's 4 different data suppliers for satellite imaging, I don't hear any of these guys saying or claiming that they have proprietary satellite data. Well, that's because it's impossible to do that because it's a feed into the government that they're getting it from, in which case it's hard to control the resources. So I really just hope, and I think this Newsweek conference has been a really good step towards that people will take away some of this scary magic component associated with artificial intelligence and really just accept that, the movies are real. All right? We are moving into a world where we have, in part because of the movies and data scientists trying to emulate that, created artificial intelligence. And it will be better than us at certain components. And therefore, it's a function as to how are we creating the frameworks around that, which I was happy to hear IBM and Google all thinking about that out at Davos. But from there, if we really just try to compete around, I have more money than you, I can buy this asset from you, we are going to destroy value for the entire society in the same way that many of the kind of nationalistic activities that are taking place may actually benefit the host country over some short-term duration. But over the whole, I think many people believe or fear that it's going to be value destructive to the broader group.